Hello again.
We're catching up.
We're catching up, and this is our monthly e-news little YouTube. And as usual, we're in the middle. We're in the thick of it. We're totally in the thick of it. But I'll hand it over to you.
I don't think we've been busier, have we?
No.
But it's a good busy. So right now we're full steam ahead on Senior Stories, Volume 8.
Senior Stories Volume 8 is a beautiful project. So this is the third year in a row that I've actually project managed a beautiful set of stories that are an anthology, and it's funded by the Department of Communities and Justice. There's a little separate video on that, so I won't go into all the detail, but it's the beauty of the project is that it allows elders in our community to tell their stories according to a particular theme. And this year it's been about diversity, which means we've had two projects. We've had the mainstream stories, 100 authors from throughout New South Wales, country, rural, beachside, regional, the whole span of people, and telling their version or I almost felt like it was secrets, you know, their own internal secrets.
It's quite intimate, a lot of the stories.
Very intimate, and also very, I don't know, joyful. Many were joyful, even the sad stories. And you'll find out when I interviewed Janine Penfold, who was one of the main narrators, that we both cried over one story. It was just, we had to just stop recording. So that was just a really lovely experience to be living through the eyes of 100 seniors in our community. Just really quite a privilege.
Yeah, and what's special about, or extra special about this year's anthology, is that there is an in-language component.
For the first time.
Yeah.
So is it 12 of the stories are being narrated in language other than English. So that added a complexity to the project. And of course we made that a separate project for Lorretta to manage.
I think it's a very worthwhile project as well. So we have stories now being narrated in Spanish, German, Urdu, Filipino, Chinese,
Vietnamese.
A raft of stories. We've got a lot of applications coming in as well, so that's really exciting.
Because every time we do a book, we audition. So it becomes like a theatrical production. We audition it out to all our channels, and we then sift through the voices that we think match the nature of the book or the story. So Senior Stories Volume 8, and the last three are the first ones that were turned into audiobook. They'll be on the Department of Communities and Justice website, and it'll be available for upload. We usually provide a copy of each story for each of the authors to have personally for themselves, and it'll be a free book. So all these stories will be available to everybody globally.
Yeah, and we've got the launch for the physical book next week at Parliament House.
Yes, and we've been invited. So we're looking forward to meeting some of the authors that we've been narrating and sort of seeing the world through their eyes, through less than 1,000 words. So they're very intense experiences that we go through. So yeah, that's been exciting. We've just finished today all 100 stories in English. We haven't done the 12 languages yet, but that starts next week.
Yeah.
With Urdu being first came off the rank.
Yeah. And what else have we got going on? We've got call-outs happening right now for First Leaders.
Yeah. It's another new book that has come our way. A really interesting book. It took me a while to get my head around it, but Andrew O'Keefe is a leadership and management expert in Australia. Great guy, laconic Australian, but also, that kind of wisdom that comes with having looked at the world, from a global platform. And that's exactly what he's done in this book. So he has interviewed Indigenous people from around the world, talking about how their particular spin on how you manage people and how leadership works in those communities. I can't wait to read it. He hasn't given us a manuscript yet. I can't wait to get in my hands. But in the meantime, we've had a few interviews with him. we've defined what voice it is that we want for that book, and the auditions have gone out, and we've already got a collection of amazing voices coming through.
We've got a dozen so far, haven't we?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's good.
and it's every time it's always difficult. We try and make it as difficult as possible for the author, of course. But with Andrew, he was, he left the accent open because it is going to be a global book. It's so we'll see what further news we have when we next do our interview.
That's my favourite part, is getting to hear the auditions and then, shortlist the narrators to then present to the author.
Yeah.
Quite like that bit.
Yeah, it is nice because you're kind of crystallising, what the voice of that book is going to be. And this is what, many people are going to be listening into their ear. And the author will be able to select that and go, yeah, this is a voice that's going to carry this message. Yeah.
And talking about a voice carrying a message, Songforge is going incredibly well.
It is. So that's pretty much in process. So it's about halfway narrated. So each narrator works very differently. And Yasmin, who is narrating this particular book, is doing such a sterling job that there are actually no pickups in the first 4 chapters. Like, that's never happened before.
Unheard of, yeah.
So a pickup is like where the author with each chapter is given the opportunity to listen to the chapter and to be able to say, well, I think there should be more of an imperative on this sentence, or, I think this has been mispronounced. And, a story like Songforge, the potential for that is quite large because it's a dystopian novel and it's in a samurai land, and it's a fantasy novel, and there's a lot of warrior talk and so on and so forth. And Yasmin is just creaming it. I think she's just nailing it every time, and she's really getting into the story. So well done, Yasmin. And James Beckingham is thrilled.
Oh, good.
Yeah.